The 805 Focus is brought to you in part by Nonprofit Connect. Nonprofit Connect provides superior leadership tools and resources so nonprofit leaders and board members can make valuable decisions to move their organization forward to a sustainable and vibrant future. More information on services online at nonprofitconnect.org.
Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cynder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits. So get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Geoff Green, and Geoff is the CEO for Santa Barbara City College Foundation. Welcome, Geoff.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Appreciate it.
I'm so glad you're here. Gosh, you always have so many wonderful, fascinating, inspiring things going on at the foundation, at the college, and so please bring us up to date.
Certainly. Well, like everybody, we're coming out of the COVID pandemic era and getting back into in-person learning, and that's been a big boost to, morale, but certainly to bring some life back to the campus. I would say the new normal will be different. Certainly we'll be using more hybrid and more remote learning. We always had considerable remote learning long before a pandemic forced us all online. We probably had about 15% of the programs at Santa Barbara City College were remote. But these days it's about half. Who knows where we'll land? But the fact that we've got folks back in the classroom as well as able to access online is really the exciting moment that we're at.
So. The ones that are online, is it the choice of the instructor or the students, or do they have a hybrid thing, or how does all that work?
It's a little bit of both. So there are certain courses where both options are offered. Some of the courses that more students need to take, that we have a couple of different ways to do it. For some, when hybrid actually does work for a particular faculty member, and that's newer, so we built some infrastructure to try that out. So the idea of doing a course simultaneously with people in the classroom and others online. And it's tough. I mean, that's a hard job. Teaching is hard enough as it is when everyone's in the same space, but to do it with folks in the room as well as externally. So I think there's just going to be a lot of experimentation about how we do it. But the fact is that there's about half of sections as of the fall 2022 semester that are in person. I should say half of students' experiences are in person, because there are students that do some courses hybrid, some courses remote, some in person. But what the new balance is, we really don't know yet.
It seems like with the hybrid, it takes a pretty high level of technology to make that work smoothly. Do you think? It
does. I mean, we all got new tools, like it or not, during the last few years. But I think and some faculty, part of it is some of it's content. There's certain things you just have to do in part. You can't do lab courses remote. You can't do certain career technical courses remote. And so some of it is the content, some of it is the faculty member. There are faculty members that really embrace that notion. Some, like I said, long before the pandemic, trained to be educators online, and of course that was a thing for some time prior. But for others, there's just you got to be there. You got to be in person. So I think that mix and balancing that long-term mix is going to be the challenge of the next few years.
Yeah. Well, good for you for being so flexible and responsive and let's see if this works, let's see if that works.
Exactly. No, community colleges are nothing if not flexible. So we do a little bit of everything, meet students where they are. So there's a lot of constant pivoting and readjusting and trying new experiments. So
great. Yeah. So let's see. Let's talk about the ever popular, ever wonderful Promise program.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to talk about the Promise.
Oh, good.
So SBCC Promise, we're now in our 6th year. That was an experiment that we launched at the foundation. And actually, I should probably back up, and it's probably important to say that the foundation is a separate 501c3 nonprofit partner to the college. So I can speak about the college, but I actually work for the foundation.
Gotcha.
So the foundation is there to support all different parts of the college's work. We support program, we support students directly. We provide capital for, think of it as sort of venture capital for new experiments in education. So when a new program might need to be launched quickly, we often are the ones that can make that happen. We build a lot of partnerships in the community with other educational organizations, and there are many in our region. We're very fortunate. But the promise was something that came out of, it was really a movement that started way back in 2005, and it moved slowly over that next decade. There was the first one in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then over the next decade, about 35 more around the country were started. But it was really 2015 was the launch of this new second wave of promise, and we were right at the front end of that. So our goal from the beginning was to model what would the ideal promise effort look like? What would a college promise be if you could do anything in the world and cost wasn't an issue? What would you do?
Yeah.
And we did a lot of homework on that, talked to a lot of colleagues that had been there before, that had tried experiments. We looked at all the data. We built the partnerships in the community to see if there was the will to support it, and we were very happy to say there was. So in the fall of 2016, we launched it. It's 2 years of full support for any student that graduates within the community college district. So for SBCC, that's Gaviota to Carpinteria. And it can be students that went to public high school, private school, homeschool. There's folks that didn't finish high school, came back and got their GED. There's our own adult high school program. So no matter how you finish your secondary education, once you do, you are eligible to enroll in the SBCC Promise. And what that means is that we, the foundation, we launched, we manage the program, and we fund it as well. So we call it an initiative, really. It's a program. It is a program, but the SBCC Promise is fully privately funded, and that's what makes it different. Is that we raise excess of $2 million a year to make that happen, and that means that every student who wants to, they have to enroll full time. They have to enroll within 2 semesters after they graduate from high school. So a typical high school student that might graduate in June, they have to enroll that next fall or the following spring. So we want that momentum. There's a momentum. The data suggests strongly that keeping enrolled is a key part of success. So we want them to enroll quickly. Some break time is okay if they might have a great internship or an experience that will help them, but we don't want them to wait too long. So we ask them to enroll quickly. Full-time, it's full-time status, and that's actually one of the hardest ones for a lot of our students because life happens and there's a lot of challenges there. But we try to remove at least the financial barrier by paying for the hard costs. And then they have to take advantage of our counseling programs, either academic counseling and or our career counseling programs, but just have somebody who's a guide along the way just to check in, make sure they're doing all right. And if they do all those things, we'll support them for up to 2 years. And in fact, it is an experiment in real time. We've made some adjustments recently. We've just started paying for transfer applications for students that are promise students that complete and they want to transfer to a 4-year. Sometimes those applications, if you're applying to multiple schools, can be onerous, and so we'll actually cover the cost for some students that way. The other thing was for students who have a unit accommodation in our disabled students programs and services. So if for whatever their challenge may be, it warrants a reduced unit load. So typically full-time is 12 units, but for some students that's not practical. So if DSPS says 6 units for you may be full-time, then what we'll do instead of 2 years is we track it by units. So, and that was a lesson we learned midway. Some families came to us and said, my student is got this challenge and they can only enroll in 6 units at a time. For them, that's full-time. And they'll never complete in 2 years at that pace. And we realized, you're right, we missed that. So we added that in as a new. So we're constantly, adjusting the model to make sure it's as relevant and valuable to as many students as possible.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That is great that you're being so responsive.
Well, we're learning a lot. I mean, the fact is we know we don't know everything. We did a lot of homework, but there's always something new that we discover that we want to. Again, the idea is to make it completely accessible to every student, as many students as possible. We know that we can't do that for absolutely everyone, but we're trying to open that door as wide as possible. And the baseline, the theory there is simply that every young person, or not so young person, everybody who completes their high school education has to have access to something else. I mean, we know in today's world that you need something. It may be a liberal arts degree, it may be a technical skill, it may be something else, but the community college is the place to offer that.
Yeah.
So, and especially an outstanding one.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, we're going to talk about that in 1 second.
Yeah.
But I have one little question. So does a person have to? They can't just move here to Santa Barbara and then all of a sudden sign up. They have to have graduated from a Santa Barbara high school?
Correct. So they have to have completed their high school years in the district. But we do open that very that's a pretty broad definition. So the vast majority of students are attending one of the 4 public comprehensive high schools. So in Santa Barbara, you've got San Marcos, Dos Pueblos, and Santa Barbara, and then in Carpinteria, you've got Carpinteria High. But it's also all of the private schools in the region, all of the homeschool programs, like I said, GED or equivalency programs. Folks that went to Los Prietos Boys Camp, and of course the Boys Camp, that's all changing now, but those that went to Los Robles High School, which is actually part of the juvenile system, we wanted to include everybody. So whatever their path, however challenging it may have been, make sure they have a chance. And so that's how we do it.
That is great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the outstanding City College. So once again, Santa Barbara City College has been named one of the 5 top community colleges in the country, and even PS, especially the cosmetology. So, but let's talk about that. How do you think it got to be so good?
Well, this is something that I certainly can't take credit for, and no one person can. It's really generations of building a top-notch faculty and staff and administrative team. The college has been acknowledged as one of the best in the country for well over a decade at this point, and won many awards prior to that as well for certain programs. A lot of innovation. And the fact is, everything that we get acknowledged for is based on the excellent work of a large group of faculty, staff, administration, of course, the students themselves. And so what we do in the foundation is we're a partner to all of that. So we try to amplify those successes. We try to bring people in who've maybe had the experience at City College and want to give back or pay it forward, as we like to say, or it may be that there's an interest. The national trends, the statewide trends in education do shift. People learn what does and doesn't work, and then try new experiments. Federal and state funding does come and go, and so what we try to do is provide a privately raised base of support to make sure that there's always the resource there to do the right thing. So we never want money to be the reason not to, and so for some of those accolades, it's because there were private investments, and for others it's just outstanding teaching, plain and simple. And of course we're fortunate in this region. We have faculty, we have people coming from all over the world who are experts in their field, and some of them are also brilliant teachers, and they find Santa Barbara City College.
So let's talk about the need for the financial support in order to make all this happen. Really. So the foundation is a 501c3 separate from the college.
Correct.
And so on your website, there's probably a Donate Now button.
How did you know?
I just, it's just
yes, upper right-hand corner. It's red with white lettering. Yes. We accept gifts from everywhere. Yes, absolutely.
And so can a person designate, like, I want this to go to the Promise program, or, but of course, we'd rather have general donations,
Yes,
right?
I'm sure we talk about this a lot on your program. Yes, the unrestricted dollars, of course, that rare gift of someone who has that, they trust the work, they trust the leadership, they say, I know you'll put this to work as it's most needed. But yes, people may, and many do, give to a particular program, something they're passionate about. It could be a scholarship, a program. It could even be just a broad area, and we get a lot of that as well. Someone who's just invested in STEM education, for example, or the arts, or something that they particularly love. So we accept all those gifts, we manage all those gifts. The foundation, we are fortunate to be one of the highest capacity foundations for the community colleges. We are the largest in the state of California, and actually one of the largest in the country. Wow. It's interesting to say that, because that makes me sound like I'm saying we're good, we don't need, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is community college philanthropy is pretty emergent. It is not anywhere as well developed as what you find in four-year institutions, particularly privates. And then if you think about the evolution, private institutions, Ivy Leagues in particular, figured this out well over a century ago. And this has been a part of the model since day one, is raising funds from current alums and their associates and communities that rely on those institutions. And that is why they have the resources they have. Four-year public institutions didn't really get into that in a big way until the 1980s and 90s, and for some even more recently. And then community colleges, it feels much more recent. I jokingly say it was like last Tuesday that we figured this out. But in our case, we've been around since 1976, and we had some real visionaries back then that understood that private resources for a public community college education were going to be needed one way or another. So we are currently, our asset base is roughly $85 million. That has been gifted over almost 50 years, and it's managed by the foundation. Of those, there's about 200 separate endowments that we hold permanently. So those are scholarships and programs that have been permanently endowed. And then we do a lot of actual fundraising, grant writing at any given moment.
Yeah.
And we have a fabulous expert team. I get to work alongside a dozen of the most talented folks I've ever known. And we're actually building right now. We got a couple of positions open. So we'll probably be a team of 15 shortly. And that'll be full capacity for our size and scope. But what that allows us to do is raise anywhere between $4 and $8 million a year. And it varies wildly because of estate gifts and other big gifts that may come. And then, of course, distribution, which is really how we measure our work and how well are we doing, is about $5 million a year on average. And about half of that supports the promise, and another $1 million to $1.2 million for scholarships and book grants. And then the remainder is really the catch-all of everything else, every other college partnership, everything else that we're asked to support. We're also fortunate to have a considerable amount of discretionary funding. So in that way, we can operate much like a grant-making foundation would anywhere else.
Yeah.
And college leadership comes to us and says, we have this idea, we have no funding for it, would you be willing and able to support it?
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you have planned giving.
We do, absolutely. And that's, as you know, that's a huge part of the landscape if you're going to be a successful fundraising organization these days. Yeah.
And I think that probably one of the big reasons that a person might feel comfortable giving an unrestricted gift or a planned gift or anything that they would do to get involved with the college is because I think over the years the leadership has demonstrated not just excellent leadership but a high level of curiosity, and let's see and what if we do this? Oh, we could do that. So a lot of flexibility, and as opposed to, we have all the answers, we know how to do this city college thing, don't bother us. That's not, you guys are always experimenting. Yeah,
and that's really what a lot of the acknowledgement the college has gotten over the years is because of that willingness and ability to innovate and try new things. And they don't always work, but that's important to be willing to take that risk and try something and then learn from it and then build from there. One of the awards that's given within the state every year is called the Rice Award, Rice Diversity Award, and it's really to acknowledge programs that open the doors for the students that are least likely or most challenged to become successful college students. So I think at this point, at least 3 of our programs, and I may be underestimating, have earned that, but those are 3 efforts under our EOPS, which is Educational Opportunities Programs and Services. And that's really where a lot of those intensive supports live, and almost all of those are partially or fully funded by the foundation privately. So our transitions program, which has recently been renamed and reinvented as Rising Scholars, but these are for folks that have been incarcerated, that are coming out of incarceration into college.
Wow, that's great.
And we were one of the early ones with the transitions and now Rising Scholars, and that's something that is largely supported privately through the SBCC Foundation. SPARK, which is an acronym for Single Parents Arriving Ready for College, because we always need good acronyms. That's a really good one. And that's for single parents, generally single mothers, but not exclusively, who are coming and trying to get their education while parenting, usually 1 or more young children. Privately funded, also got the Rice Diversity Award. We have our Guardian Scholars programs for foster youth. We have, there's a lot there. And one of the summer bridge programs for each of those, the one that has gotten a lot of excitement, it's called Running Start, and it's actually a partnership with our local high schools where counselors and teachers will identify a student that clearly has what it takes to be a successful college student, but is not coming from a place of believing that that's possible for them, either because they're first in their family, it could be financial, it could just be their challenges in high school. So we take them through this summer bridge program and show them what college is and that they can not only survive but thrive. And those students actually get paid to attend the summer bridge and get some support. So there's all kinds of things like that, and they've all been recognized. And I think that's why over time you get the entire institution, in addition to just the achievement of the students and the notoriety of the faculty. So
what a gift this college and the foundation are to this community and to so many people.
113 years. There's a lot of folks that have walked through those doors.
So all right, we have a couple minutes left. Is there another message you'd like for the audience to hear about the foundation or the college?
I mean, I think it's that community college is the people call it the best kept secret or the most underappreciated branch, or it is actually the least well-funded part of our public education system.
Yes.
And that includes everything from K-12 all the way up through our R1 universities, University of California, CSUs. So California has a remarkable public education system, but community colleges are actually the largest piece of that, and they're the least funded. And for years, they were these very efficient educating machines, and that model worked. But today, we're meeting students where they are, and that in an era where there's incredible wealth poverty disparity, where the challenges are many, and whether we're talking about newly recognized or emerging ones like mental health crises, whether we're talking about just the general struggle to thrive in the economy that we have today. The colleges are the best tool. I believe that. I think most people, when they look at the data, they say that is in fact true. I mean, it's demonstrably so. So if you want to invest in education, I would argue that the dollars go furthest, the impact is greatest, and whether you're talking about helping someone have a stable personal life or family life, or a successful economic existence, their earning potential, socioeconomic mobility has long been demonstrated to be, remarkably impacted by access to higher education, and all of that for us in Santa Barbara flows through the Santa Barbara City College Foundation and ultimately onto the college.
Wow.
So.
Thank you, Geoff.
There's my pitch. That's what I would say about what we do.
Oh man, thank you so much for sharing all of that very inspiring information with us.
Absolutely. I always love the invitation to come sit with you. So
good.
I appreciate this a lot.
And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.